Welcome to the Portland Film Festival, presented for the fourth consecutive year by Comcast. We want to thank the Comcast team's tremendous support and commitment to independent filmmakers. Their ongoing support ensures that diverse voices are given a platform to share their unique perspective on the world. We'd also like to thank Kerner Camera, Portland Mortgage, and Oregon Film. Find out more information or buy tickets online at pdxff.com. That was quite a movie, and you guys are all the cast. Did you guys all take part in the writing and producing, I assumed, as well?
Yeah, mainly from the producing side of things was myself and Imani, and not joining us today is Daniel Weaver, who was my producing partner and also my writing partner on the film itself.
All right. Well, let's get started. What was I saw that you guys shot this movie in over 4 days, but what was the impetus to get it going, this particular story?
Well, the impetus itself came from it was back in 2018, somewhere in the late end of 2018, and this was right when the Brett Kavanaugh hearings were actually happening, right around the end of that year. And we just remember how divisive and how the arguments were going back and forth. And I remember that sort of circumstance. And then I was also just kind of percolating on this idea of, a simple log line of if you met your childhood friends today, would you still fuck with them? And by the way, it's cursing okay, because I'm just gonna I was straight like a sailor out here. All right, cool. And so with that in mind, all of a sudden the two ideas kind of coalesced, and I jumped on the phone with Daniel immediately, told him about this idea that I had of just one location, 5 high school friends who grew up together, and then 10 some years later. But then not only do you find out the verdict of this big controversial case, but you find out that somebody in your group did something inappropriate back in the day. And again, the idea is, how do you deal with sympathy versus empathy? How do you deal with something that is something you can watch on TV versus something that you deal with in person? So I thought that was already just an engaging idea. But on top of that, I low-key had quite a few ideas of casting already in mind. I had friends of mine who I wanted to work with, and new friends who I've made along the way who I'm absolutely just in love with when it comes to this film and in life in general. So it was just really exciting for it to kind of come together in the way that it did, and in the time that it did, because we didn't have a lot of it. We had to shoot it in 4 days. We just with a low budget film like this, there was a lot of trust that had to be given. And I'm so happy that, again, all the actors and the crew, they stepped up to the plate to get it done.
It certainly doesn't look like it was shot in 4 days.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It felt that way. Don't worry. It did.
And you guys definitely used the whole location very, very well. I mean, it didn't feel like it was just stuck in a house kind of a movie.
Right. Yeah, we used every last inch of that place. So shout out to my friend who we rented it out from. But yeah, it was, we definitely did what we had to do, or what we could do with essentially the circumstances that we had.
All right. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting was, especially with your character, Jody, that you weren't necessarily in a relationship with the person that you came with, and even though everybody else was. Do you want to, talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think that was a fun dynamic, and something that definitely set my character apart from the rest of them, for sure, was not being in a relationship going into it. So even feeling like there's this awkwardness of all these old friends getting together, and then I'm like not even like a partner, so it's not even like I have a real substantial connection, but I have such like strong beliefs as Kayla in the film. So I was like very hot-headed to all these groups, the entire group who I didn't know, so I think it really made for an interesting dynamic for my character specifically.
And it definitely takes, I think, an outsider to kind of see in, and I think that's what a lot of the, I don't want to say girlfriend parts, but the yeah, especially your character, Imani's character, being able to kind of see what's really going on.
Yeah, the film is sort of told through the eyes of Izzy, and so you're right. It's like she has this intuitive spirit that kind of carries us along the film, and she is also coming into a group of friends that she's never met before. And so it's like being a fly on the wall, but being very opinionated while being that fly on the wall, and just watching this group of friends, their dynamics sort of shift and change. Like they haven't seen each other in 10 years. And you can sort of sense that tension as the movie goes on, how much they've changed along the climate of what's going on in the world. And so it was a really awesome character to play. And she's sort of like the backbone of the film.
Agreed. Sorry, it's
a lot of processing happens. I know with this film, it happens.
There is absolutely a lot of processing, and I was actually going to ask about the verdict. I mean, it definitely felt like it was based on Brett Kavanaugh, but
yeah,
I remember having arguments with lots of people about that one as well as it was going on. But
yeah.
Yeah, I think what was really interesting was something that I wanted to make sure of, and you know, by all means, like even for Allison, Kausar, if you wanted to weigh in on this, and Jody as well, but when it came to specific voices that we knew had to feel authentic or had to feel real, it's again, like, you know, let's just be fully transparent here. There's a straight Asian male writer and a straight white writer that's, you know, writing this film, but dealing with so many different topics that are weighed in from so many different perspectives. So it was really important. Even Imani, which is as a co-producer, we talked with her a lot, but even through the process of the actual filmmaking, you know, whether it was rehearsals or whether it was on the day, we wanted to just make sure that it was this atmosphere where you felt like you had the agency to be authentic, that you had every right to kind of speak up if there was something you wanted differently done. We wanted to make sure that that was available to everybody, but particularly to the people that we didn't, you know, we wanted to fully represent as much as possible in the most authentic way as possible.
Yeah.
And to that, given that you wrote it, how much?
I you mentioned us weighing in, but I just wanted to say too, I think you definitely succeeded in that, because I do think it's important to get the perspective, but also it goes without saying that everybody knows somebody who's been affected by this topic. Sorry, that's my cat scratching next to me, so there's noise.
You got all the animals everywhere.
Yeah, I know, too many. But we all know somebody, you know, even if you don't think you do, you know somebody who's affected by it. So I think it's important for everybody to have some involvement in the conversation.
And speaking to that involvement, how much of this movie was improvised? And I mean, given that you had 4 days to make it.
I'm gonna let y'all answer this one. I'm gonna let everybody else answer here.
I mean, I think that's what made the 4 days so much fun, was the amount of trust and freedom that you guys gave everybody. It didn't feel like, oh gosh, we have to get this done in 4 days and there's so much to do. It felt, it just felt like the trust was just so, I was grateful for it because it allowed me to play. And I mean, everyone was so wonderful to play with, but there's a lot of good stuff that came in the moment.
Yeah. And I think almost it might have had the opposite effect of like 4 days, like somebody we gotta trust the spirit, we gotta trust what's in there, and we gotta follow it because, you know, we got limited time here. But I think that's a beautiful thing too, and a testament to the writing, to be able to just trust the script and be like, okay, like this is it. And so having that balance of both was really lovely.
And also the 4 days was kind of cool because I think sometimes when you have these long shoots, it's like you have to remember like where you are in the story and at what place emotionally or things like that. And it was kind of cool to feel like you could live out your full arc in such a short period of time, even if though things were shot out of order, it was just all so fresh. And I just remember feeling things happen, especially at those dinner conversations, that like I didn't necessarily prepare for in my like actor preparation, but it came up inside of me because we were enthralled with it for 4 days, compacted in, and it got to live a little bit more than, okay, we did this one day and then next week you're shooting the finale, and it just kind of allowed it to sort of flourish a little bit. I like it better that way, but
we tried as much as we could from the production standpoint to try to film it as chronologically as we could, you know, for exactly that reason too, where we wanted to give the actors the opportunity to feel like to live it out essentially. And it's not going to be perfect. We have to figure out logistical things. There's a sunset. We had to shoot something for day for night, night for day kind of thing. So, we had to figure out a lot of those logistical stuff. But at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure that the actors themselves felt like they could, as Allison said, live out their arc in such a short amount of time. And I always love to applaud this on Charles as well when it comes to that dinner scene. Like I told him, I remember on the day we filmed the dinner scene in over 2 nights, and essentially, when Charles's character Miles, when shit essentially hits the fan, he's the driving force of that scene. And I told him right before we lights up, right before the camera went up, I said, hey, you run the show right now. I'm in front of the camera. I can't see it. I'm only going to be here with you. I'm going to feel it with you, but you have to be the one that drives. We're going to go along with you. You set the pace, we go. And he was like, heard, and he did it. And I think we had 3-4 takes in there, but it was every time, it was just goosebumps all over.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. I think I was driving more stick shift than I was automatic.
It's okay. It's, jolting here. It's all right.
It was a blast. I mean, Chris really gave us, everyone, I think, gave each other freedom to find our own voices through the characters that we played. And we were very, very giving with each other. There was a lot of give and take. I didn't feel like there was any a judgment. There was so much acceptance across the board with all the cast members, which made it a really, really fruitful experience.
And it goes back to that 4 days. We all knew that we were stepping into something that was going to be challenging, and it was going to be a lot of work. And so we just had to trust each other. We had to be on the same page because we were a team to, see something from beginning to end. And we were all motivated and dedicated to this project. So there wasn't really any room for messing up per se. We just all had to be sharp and ready. And
and that's the fun part, was the messing up was even okay, because in so many ways in these conversations, when you're having dialogue with other people, you're going to stumble, you're going to mumble things, you're going to kind of forget what to say. And every so often, very organically, it might happen in the script, or it might happen through the improv of the acting. And to me, it makes it feel more real in that regard anyway. So I welcome that. But at the same time, let's make sure that the story comes across. Let's make sure the story still comes across. But beyond that, I'm working with great actors. So at the end of the day, I'm lucky because I know I'm going to get something great out of it.
Awesome. Chris, how was it writing and directing and then starring in the movie as well?
Panic is all I can think of. Panic, insane panic. It's not easy, but the one thing I always just say for anyone that wants to kind of take on a gauntlet like this is prep, because once you're there, everything gets thrown to the wall, and you just have to see what sticks. And you have to try to stay level as much as you can. You need a great teammate. You need great people around you that, again, lift you up and make you better. So I think a lot of that made my job a lot easier. But still, no matter what, it's stressful. If I know that I can't see a shot, if I know that I can't, even I couldn't even, because of the time restraint that we had, I wouldn't even have time for playback on any of these shots. I just had to essentially blindly trust that my DPs, my ACs, my ADs, they know exactly what they're doing to get the shots that we're hoping. And then from there, we go with it. Same thing with the actors. I told them, I was like, hey, you're probably going to get one take for your coverage at most. And I can't even promise you that the camera's going to stay on you. It might actually move somewhere else. So they really had to just trust and be in the moment and work with what they got. And again, they trusted me to hope, in the editing process of it, find those moments and find the moments that make sense for the film. And as it somehow, always does, somehow it comes together in the very end.
We found those moments.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, given that you had one take on a lot of things, how did that guy hit the beer pong shot?
I was very I think that was the only shot and the only coverage we had on that angle, so that's the only one y'all got. There was no, I think there was one other angle and we didn't see it go in the cup. So, that's sometimes that's how it was. Sometimes, a certain shot, we didn't have any other coverage for it other than that one. So we had to go with it. Right. Meanwhile, I might have a plethora of a bunch of different reaction shots of somebody that I didn't think I needed, but I was like, oh, I'm perfect example. I'm going to tout this one right now. I told this to Allison, because, Veronica's character like that, she has plenty to work with, but perhaps it may not feel as dense at times. But what she gave in her performance, when all these little different reaction shots, all these different little moments that the camera caught, that I didn't even think of using until I was in the editing room thinking, oh my gosh, these moments are great.
Yeah.
And I can give you plenty of other examples for all the other actors. That's the one that just kind of came to my mind, but stuff like that just serendipitously happens in sort of a shoot like this.
And also I saw that you guys shot this last year, is it?
2019, but 2019. We were pretty much, post production the whole way through last year. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you didn't have to deal with the whole COVID.
Not in person, but we did do the editing process long distance, which I think came with its own challenges. Like you couldn't be in the post production room with Logan.
Like our colorist, our sound, like the people that did our music, Jetta, who this is their first musical composition for a film. They're actually the former singer and bass guitarist from Yellow Card. So this is their first foray into filmmaking through music composition. So, we had to kind of work with them through a pandemic way of just, we were having meetings before the pandemic in person. Everything was gelling. All the stuff obviously happened. And then from there, we had to just think on our feet. We had to change, just change the logistics of things. Stressful nonetheless, but again, grateful at the end of the day that we were able to get it done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, you guys definitely knocked it out of the park. Sorry, I also have a cat that's crawling around.
I love it.
We put our puppy. We have a puppy.
We put our pup away. Everyone's like bringing other pets out. Like, oh, we're terrible parents. We lock up our dude. It's like
he's napping.
Yeah, he's napping.
He's okay.
So that's what we tell everybody.
So putting together a movie like this, I mean, where did you guys I noticed that there wasn't like a Kickstarter or anything. Were you guys you were able to raise the financing to do it? That's why it was so short, I imagine, the shooting.
Yes. Yeah. Shout out to obviously our, the people that, help finance this film, our investors, also Liquid Fish, the company that's been working with us through a production house. They're very, them and Cody and a bunch of other people like Kayla. I can name a lot of people that were involved in helping this film get to where it is. So, but yeah, it's micro budget. Like it was something that even again, these actors, they're working, they're these faces, you've seen these faces, and for them to be able to again just trust someone, first time feature film, first time directing a feature film, and to sort of just trust that, I couldn't thank y'all enough, honestly. I tried to thank you plenty at the wrap party when I was super drunk, but I'm going to keep doing it until every time I see you. But yeah, like that was a big part of it. There had to be, with the amount of money that we had and the amount of time that we had, they knew it's like we shot 24 pages in a day, which is unheard of in production generally. So yeah, we did it.
And we had a lot of support from friends and family too. So yeah, everybody was down. We rallied.
Yeah,
we made it happen.
Now, Charles, you have one of the harder jobs in the movie, I think. What was that kind of process like, getting to the end of the story?
It was, I didn't want to think of the character as Miles as a villain. I just wanted to make it very personal. I think finding his flaws and his insecurities and embracing those, I think, was the greatest reward and challenge for that character. I think just finding that authenticity of that he's a deeply flawed human, and may not be aware of it. But as me as the actor being aware of it and then being able to explore it through him, I thought really helped me to feel a level of sympathy for him when I saw the film. And I had known, growing up, I've even been like him at times in my life, and so it almost felt like kind of an homage to people I've known throughout my life, like in high school and college. It was kind of like I wanted to give those people, those individuals, some sense of like honor them a little bit through it. I know that sounds a little hokey, but in a way, I mean, watching the film, I was able to really kind of see like, oh my gosh, it really brought a lot of personal experiences into the character that I just allowed to be. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it definitely felt like getting towards the end, the asking for forgiveness didn't feel unearned at that point, like it can in a lot of stories.
Yeah. Why do you think that, from your interpretation, why do you think it felt that way? That it,
Because I felt like the character really had to sit with what they did and understand it before they could, before anyone could move on, and I think that it wasn't, I don't know, thinking back to like the Brett, Kavanaugh conversation. I mean, I remember having conversations with my dad where I'm like, would you tell your son these things? Like, would you say that any of that's okay? Why would you defend, this person in any way? Because I don't feel like I was raised to have those values, but sometimes we can be blind to those things, and to actually, like, I think, sit in and hear it and not run away from it. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think Miles had spent so much of his life with blinders on, unaware of the effect he was having for his perception of the world and people and cultures. And it was a big wake-up call for him. But I think if he was not a good human, he wouldn't have been able to take that in. I think listening and just really understanding other people could really take care of a lot of issues in the world. If anything, maybe Miles could give someone that they could watch this film, relate to him, and say, oh, maybe I should take a step back and reflect a little bit, or listen to some other people's perspective, and really genuinely have empathy for their plights, Well,
and also I think like there's so many conversations that happen in this film that are hopefully happening more and should have been happening a lot longer, and not only conversations amongst each other and friends, but conversations that one needs to have with themselves, and a reflection of self. And there was just so many conversations that I think other men should be having with other men because of this movie, and white people should be having with other white people because of this movie, and friends should be having with friends, and relationships should be having with each other about a lot of the topics that are touched on in this film. And that's what made me so interested in it. And it's about damn time. That's all I'm gonna say. And it's only there's so much more work that needs to be done, but I'm proud to be part of something that hopefully will spark uncomfortable conversations for people, amongst the people in their lives, and also with themselves. I had to sit with Veronica, and I wanted to reject so much of her. I wanted to reject my Veronica self, and I had to sit and realize the ways in which I am just like her. And what do I do with that? It's my responsibility to do something with that. For other women, for the people of color in my life, it's my responsibility. And so that's what I think is so beautiful about the conversations and what goes on in this film.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think all of us, because of the writing, were tasked with that imperative with the character, to take it responsibly and to really, kind of get over our own thing too, our own ego, whatever it may be, and really kind of give over. I think you see that in so many of the performances. They're very giving. And even what like Chris was saying about, you know, Allison's reactions. You know, she didn't, so many, there are people that may not want to even give those reactions because of their own personal, you know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of a thing. So there's a
Yeah.
lot about the quality of people that were working on this project.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's just, you know, the idea is can you encourage a discourse that also you know, sort of keeps us in line with like just the humanity of it all, you know what I mean, just to be humane about things. I don't want to make a film that feels so heavy-handed. Daniel and I that wasn't our intention, where it's like, this is what we're trying to tell you, you know. It's really just, you know, it's a world of gray. You know, we don't live in a state of black and white, but everyone is in a state of gray, and that's kind of the world that we live in. And I wanted to be able to at least portray a world like that encourages people, like Allison says, that at the end of the film might make you want to turn to your person to your left and say, hey, should we talk about that real quick? And then if it encourages another conversation after that, that's exactly what the film, I can only hope for it to do.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I think it's clear within the work and the piece, that's my dog Theo,
Yes.
that the need to center survivors and the healing process of that. And I feel like what this film does so beautifully is not leave it in a pretty little bow tie, which is also something that we look for when it comes to healing, when we come forward and when we look for progress, and that's not the way it works. And that's what I also found really, really powerful about this, that yes, what is the way to center survivors, what is right, what is wrong, but also what is human. And we see a lot of human in this, as well as upholding, kind of knowing what's right and wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And real quick, Kausar, that's a great accent you had in the movie. I wouldn't have known that you weren't from London.
I mean, this is my fake accent, actually. I'm putting it on.
I also loved how when Kausar, when we were talking about the character, because she was written as having a British accent, and we were kind of going back and forth about it. And she was like a little nervous. She's like, do you think this sounds good? And I was like, just read me a few lines. Just do a scene real quick or whatever. We did a quick little rehearsal, and I was like, print it. We're good. We're 100% good. So yeah, I'm so happy that like you're not the first person to ask that, Ben, or like that dawns on them. Because yeah, she does a great on it.
Great. I bless you. It was a super, super fun challenge, and watched a lot of Harry Potter and called up a lot of my British friends. But I love it. I love accents. It was truly such a dream to be able to play with that. So thank you.
I mean, one of my greatest loves is seeing Americans play Brits, because there's so many Australians and Brits that play Americans that, you know, even though I don't really care for Bridget Jones, I'm always rooting for Renee.
I completely.
So,
I just wanted to say,
what was that?
I completely agree. Could we have an American James Bond? Let's do it.
Yes, 100%. So I'd like to hear from each of you. Will you guys be coming back to next year's gathering of friends? I mean, the characters, not you. Obviously, the actors would get back together, but yeah.
Cal and Izzy got some.
We got some issues to work out.
We gotta, sit down and have a conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
So before they just have to clear the table, and I feel like get some transparency going on. And but I think there's hope for them, and I think that they're both really strong and they're making their strides. And as you can see towards the end of the film, Cal had already grown so much because of Izzy, in a way, like for pushing him. And so with that, maybe with lots of conversation, she may or may not show up at that next dinner party. We gonna see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's valid that Miles asked for forgiveness, but I don't think Kayla would ever give it. There's no way. Like, I think if Samuel invited me to hang out with like Cal and Izzy, yeah, sure. But as a whole group, no. Also, Taylor, no.
And then the line is drawn.
Yeah. And I know this is a world of gray, but I feel like Kayla was a little bit on the black and white side. Like, I don't think that she had a lot of gray on these. So,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd be invited to another one. I don't know that we would be, understandably so. I completely understand why. But I think that dinner definitely, I mean, I love, like you said, not everything is, there's so much gray. And for Veronica, there was so much gray because, you know, listening to what happened, I couldn't help but not empathize and feel like, whoa, my partner did this to someone. But she also has chosen Miles and she will stand by him. And so those are very interesting waters to navigate that are full of gray tones. And I definitely think that dinner sparked some conversation between the two, but I don't know that we will be back for another.
Understandable, you know.
Yes.
So we're not invited to the destination wedding, I guess.
Yeah. We'll probably invite you, and I don't know that you'll come.
And that's why you have a destination wedding, is so that, you know, the people who don't have to come won't come.
True. That's true. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know if I think it's gonna be like a boys' night out for the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like. It's gonna be like grilling, barbecuing, or something. But yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out and speaking. Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything else you guys want to talk about that? We didn't really get into anything Asian American in the story too much.
True. Yeah.
Which oddly enough is one of the things I can actually speak to. But
no, I mean, yeah, I feel like we talk about that and we can open up the whole Pandora's box on that one and just kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit. But no, there's a lot of different topics that we covered, and I'm happy that we were even able to just discuss small slivers of it today with the people that just, you know, they came to do the work, and each and all of you just, like they all just brought it. And there's plenty of other people that are off camera right now to thank for as well, from the cast as well as the crew. So honestly, it's a wonderful feeling when sort of a project like this comes together. And I tell this to these people here as well, along with the other cast members. But it's like, you know, I only get to see you all in these little short pockets of time, but I feel like I see you all the time because I'm just this film is just always around me. So it's a really fun feeling that it's like my friends are always just really close by. And then to just see them succeed in their own right in different places is just it's a very humbling, and very excited to share it with you all in Portland as well.
Awesome. And real quick, do you guys have distribution plans already, or?
We've nothing set yet. I don't want to give anything away at the moment, but we are still going through our festival route right now. We do have something coming up towards the end of the month as well. But yeah, from there, yes, we'll definitely be aiming to make sure that we get this out to a wider audience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage everybody to watch the film. I mean, most people watching the Q&A have probably already seen the movie.
True.
But I really do hope that it sparks a lot of conversations within, you know, your groups at home as well as, you know, here. I would like to remind our audience to vote after the screening, and thank you all so much for joining us, and just nothing but you know, good luck for the future, and hopefully we can see this movie out wide so more people can have these conversations.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great seeing everybody. Great seeing you all.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, peace.
Bye.